Hello, everyone. My name is Jackie Ravella. We're here for yet another great episode of interviewing our church members at Gateway Church in Kennewick, Washington. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Jim Taylor. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. So, in talking with you, I learned some very interesting things about you, but we'll start in Portland, Oregon, where you were raised there. And it was quite a fascinating story, but I'm gonna save the really cool part and let you talk about that. But kind of growing up in Portland, Oregon, teenager, kind of your typical teenager, but not making the best choices.
I wasn't typical. I was on the wrong spectrum of
well,
typical.
How on the wrong spectrum were you?
I was into trouble a lot.
Okay.
From the time I was 14, about the time I hit junior high.
Junior high.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I was always in trouble, running away.
Oh my.
That's where I learned to start doing drugs.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then, but you said your parents were going to church. Is that correct? Both parents?
My mom.
Your mom was going
Yeah,
to church.
she was going to a Baptist church for a while until she discovered East Hill Foursquare in Gresham. I think I was about 15 years old.
All right.
And we were forced to go.
You were forced. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of really not knowing why you were going, but just, okay, this is what, you do, your kids, and you go to church. What about your dad? Was he also going to the same church?
No. He didn't get saved until I was 17 when I went into the service.
Right. And so something happened in between when you were 14 and 17 that sort of changed the direction of your life. And what was that?
Yeah, I was into some pretty icky stuff, and I met Nicky Cruz. He's a pastor. He was in gangs. He grew up in a witchcraft family in, I believe it was Puerto Rico. Something like that. Yeah, I think it was Puerto Rico. And I read his book when I was a kid, and I idolized his bad boy side instead of his good boy side with God. And started running around downtown Portland. Not so much in a gang, but it was a gang. If you weren't with us, you were against us type thing. And then I kind of started straightening up a little bit, but not too much. And my mom had told me that, and she knew how I felt about Nicky, that I idolized him. And she told me he was coming to Portland. Well, when I got there and started hearing him speak, I heard God speaking through him to me. And yeah, it was an interesting night. I ended up going backstage, and he prayed with me, and it changed my life. It started a new transformation. It wasn't a Cinderella story, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It took a while, but yeah.
But some serious divine intervention.
Yeah.
So you're kind of connected with someone who was getting into trouble in gangs and all sorts of things, and then but you had gone to church, not really understanding really why you were there, hadn't built that relationship with Jesus, and then this guy pops up and poof, it's like, okay, there's a sign.
Yeah. You
met him, and what was that experience like meeting him?
Oh, I was such a mess that night. Awesome. It was great. Being able to meet him because of what he came out of and to what he turned into. It really inspired me, and to start kind of looking that way, which I did. Look where I'm at now.
Yes.
But that took a long time too.
Right.
It did.
Some persistence, because it does take, it's not an overnighter thing.
No. But then I went in the Marine Corps about a year or so later. I went in to the recruiter's office the day after my 17th birthday, so I figured that's when I went into the Marine Corps. Right. It was March 12th. Whatever year that was. I'm not going to date myself here. But that was a great experience. I grew up. Fast. Even though I was 17, I grew up, and fast. Fast, because if you didn't, you were in trouble in Marines,
Of course.
And I got a letter from my mom telling me that Dad got saved. They started going to East Hill Church with her, and I was like, okay, whatever, But the day of graduation, it was way more than just whatever. It was, oh, wow, this is cool.
Yeah. He was so proud of you. And
Oh, yeah.
and they both came to your graduation.
Yeah.
Oh,
my
wow.
brother and sister and both mom and dad.
Oh, my gosh. You meet the love of your life.
Oh, but I met her about 3 years prior to
Prior.
that. I was 14 and she was 12. Yeah,
Right.
we just became really good friends, and then next thing I know, we're best friends.
Best friends.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then, so after your boot camp graduation, you all ended up Texas, and you were married, and
Well, that was a few years even further down the road. I mean, we started dating when I was 18. She was 16, and then we got our own apartment. We got married. But the reason we got married was because she wanted to move to Texas, and I thought, okay, cool, I've always wanted to see Texas. But her grandparents wouldn't let us, well, her grandfather, he wouldn't let us move in down there unless we were married. So we got married at a pretty young age. I was 20, she was 17 and a half. So,
right. Okay.
And that just didn't work too well for me. We didn't have our own place yet, and I was a hard-headed, stupid, still, as far as I was concerned, teenager. And if I didn't have things going my way, I would run away from them and go somewhere else. So I ended up going back to Portland, and she stayed for 2 months to get her teeth fixed, and then she came home. And then that's when we got started going to church, got saved, both got baptized, the Holy Spirit, all that. And yeah.
And then you ultimately ended up, well, it was a divorce, and then you came back to Portland.
Well, yeah, after we had moved to Arkansas, and then we ended up getting separated, so I came back again, running away from my problems, and came back to Portland, and she stayed there, still there today. It was
So from there, you actually ended up, you said you had a daughter when you were in Portland for some time.
Yeah.
But you had a daughter, but also when you were going to church, you were going for the wrong reasons, you told me, because you were looking for,
a new relationship. Yeah, no, I started going back, I guess 90, 91, 90, started going back to church at Sunnyside Foursquare, and with my parents. Met quite a few friends, and I'm still friends with a couple of them. But like I said, I was going for the wrong reason. I wasn't trying to find God or learn about God, because I really didn't know how in the first place, and I was more looking for another relationship, which God said no. But I didn't hear that because I wasn't listening to him, of course.
So do you think he was saying you weren't ready, or that you needed to learn? What do you think that was about, really?
Oh, I wasn't ready, that's for sure. And whether, obviously, in his plans, I'm sure that I was not ever going to be ready. And I realized that about 20 years ago, that I wanted to be single, but not for God's reason. But when I did start reading the Bible a lot, and Paul is, other than Jesus, Paul's my hero. He's my biggest Bible hero ever. Reading his words, and the whole thing about staying single if you can, I thought, well, this is a perfect way to learn. Then I don't have to worry about a woman in my life and worry about what she wants and what she wants to do and blah, and I'm taking care of myself through God.
Right.
Okay. So, and that's where I'm at with that part.
Right.
But my daughter, get back on that subject, I met her mom, probably about 3 years later. Next thing I know, I found out that Stacy was born. I had my suspicions, but I was a bull rider. I was in rodeo back then.
Rodeo?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I rode bulls for about 6 or 7 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And I took off for Missouri. A buddy of mine that I traveled with, he took off, and he called me up one day, and he says, hey, man, I got this big house, five-bedroom house, sits on 80 acres, 2 shops. We got a barrel set out there for practicing. He goes, you should move down here. And I went, okay. So I did. Well, I was there for 2.5 months, and I found out about Stacy, my daughter. Her mom finally came clean and said, yeah, she's yours. And Stacy was about 10 months old at that time. 3 days later, I was back in Portland.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, but that led you to another path, because you ended up meeting your best friend.
Yep.
And what's her name?
Well, people call her Helen, but
Helen.
she's Sissy to me.
Sissy to you, right?
She's
Helen.
she's
Right.
family. She's
Yes.
family.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've met Helen.
All holidays are spent with them.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so you really, the friendship was really great, but also your daughter, there's daycare. You know,
Yeah,
and then so, this family became your family.
Yeah.
And then when they decided to move to the Tri-Cities,
Yeah.
you says, well, you can't go without me.
Yeah. I
Well,
threatened to lock them in
yeah.
the basement and bring Stacy over for daycare every day. And they say, well, why don't you just move up there with us?
Yep.
And I was
And-
like, what do you mean? I'm going to find a job in a house in a week or two. And they said, well, you don't have to worry about that. We already got you a place to stay. Mm-hmm. So they had made arrangements for me to come up without me even knowing about it. And
Right.
obviously God wanted me here, because a week later I had a new job that quick.
Right. And so
Yeah.
it's just led you to continuing, it gets better and better and better.
Yeah.
So, and your daughter's here. Mm-hmm. And
Yep, she moved up here after she graduated
yeah.
high school in
And
Longview.
you have a granddaughter also.
No, grandson.
Grandson. Oh,
Yeah,
grandson.
grandson.
That's right.
Yeah.
So then back to church and your relationship with God, is you felt like you were getting back onto that path of kind of wanting to continue that relationship and building it in a better way, as opposed to just going to the church to find,
Yeah.
a
And I had started going to a church
Here?
with Stacy. She was about 8 when we started to go, right before she ended up having to go back and live with her mom. That's a long story. Anyway, she went, she was getting ready to go back, and I started going to another church, and I just didn't feel it. So I kind of just walked away again and, didn't really try, even though he was always there. And then last year,
he, meaning God, was always there.
yeah, God
Right.
was always there, yeah.
Yeah.
And then last year, he was really there. He did a couple things in my life that really made me worry, and I went, whoa, I have to stop and come. I'm coming. I'm here. I'm back.
You're back.
But then it took a minute to figure out where I was going to go. I was looking around. I hadn't gone anywhere. I knew you and Tom, your husband.
Yeah.
For a while before that, one day I asked Tom, because I'd been looking for a church to go to, and I had Gateway put on my heart, but I really wasn't sure, because I was also thinking about the other church I used to go to. And then when I called Tom up, no, actually I ran into him down at the shop.
Yeah, right.
At Sissy's shop.
Yeah,
And I said, hey, what church is it that you and Jackie go to? Because I knew that you guys went to church, because when I first met you, you guys said you went to church, and of course Tom told me that you guys go to Gateway, and I went, oh, I've been thinking about that. And so one Sunday I just decided to show up. You guys weren't here, but I'm still here.
Yeah, because I think you said you really like the people, and just the welcoming feel,
Yeah.
and that was good.
Yeah.
And so, you've been going ever since, and very involved and active, and
I'm
wow.
surprised about how fast I got active, and it just solidified that this is where I belong, and this is where I'm learning to learn about God and Jesus.
So that was going to get into that next, about why is this a church a good fit for you? And so you just touched on a little bit. Are there any other reasons?
Oh yeah,
you really
I mean,
like
I love our round table.
the round table discussion.
That was so cool to me that I could sit there and have my Bible and my notepad and just take notes or whatever. But it was more comfortable than sitting in a pew. I can tell you that.
Right.
But and I just, everybody was so warm and welcome. And you didn't, and that's the one thing I do like about the Foursquare, is any church, anyone that you go to, there's never any, oh, hey, how you doing? That kind of thing. Everybody's friendly and open, and they take you for who you are.
Absolutely. They do. And you can come with your issues and not be afraid to talk about them, because, we've all been through life.
Yep.
You just, things happen.
Yep.
And you're not judged. You're
Nope.
not,
and people don't pry. If you want to talk to them, they'll listen. but they don't come
Right.
up and say, "Oh, you're doing okay." I mean, doing okay is fine, but when people start prying, you seem down. Is there something I can help you with? No, just they don't do that here.
Right. Yeah.
They let you come to them in the perfect way by
right.
being friendly and nice, and you're doing okay, yeah, and yeah, well,
But
you want to talk about it,
genuinely mean
yeah,
it, and
yeah,
genuinely
exactly,
care.
yep.
And it's a small church, so it's
Yeah.
not like a gazillion people. Where,
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, it took a while to get used to that gazillion people like at Sunnyside. It was a mini mega church. There's a lot of nice people there, but there was
yeah.
people that show up on Sunday and then they go home and they weren't in God's word every day. But that happens everywhere.
Well, you seem like you're in a really good place.
I feel I am.
You've gone
I love
through
it here.
such a journey.
Yeah.
Very happy,
Yeah.
and your daughter's here, and so
Yeah.
that's good. Well, such an incredible story of
Yeah.
how you went from this 14-year-old teenager
Little
to
brat.
and so who knows, you might be on the speaker circuit yourself to help a lot of the young people.
That would be nice.
Because it does take a village,
Yeah.
literally, to help them.
One of the things I did when I first started going to church, when I first got saved, my dad was on the JDH, Juvenile Delinquent Hall. That's what we called it back then. He was on the missionary team. Not really missionary. I don't know what you call it. But they went in and talked to the kids at juvie. For every Sunday after church, he would go, and he asked me to go one day, and I went, and I loved it. I mean, I love going in there and talking to the kids because I was in that place many, many times. I was in there a lot, mainly for running away and a stupid couple petty crimes.
But I have to go back to ask you a question. With all of this, what made you have the Bible, you read the Bible, but what made you really believe in Jesus and to keep you constantly asking questions and being on that path of learning? What made you believe?
Well, I had a couple extraordinary things happen. But it was things that I saw and things that happened that were like, people might call them miracles, small miracles, whatever. But as far as trusting in God and trusting in Jesus, I just knew He was there. It's just the faith.
The faith.
You're sitting there and you're thinking about something, or you're maybe talking to Him, or even when you're not walking with Him, you're kind of like, well, God, God, or Jesus, this, that, and you actually hear His voice, and you go, oh, wow, what?
And it's good that you listen, because
Yeah.
you wouldn't be here. So
No.
now you're here, and
Yeah.
you're with everything you've been through, and you can help others.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Well, yeah. I mean, look,
mean,
at this interview is
I'm just a vessel for the Lord, and whatever He wants me to do, I'll do it.
Well-
I keep telling Him that all the time.
well. I have to tell you, I really appreciate your time being here and talking to me and to others who about your journey and where you are now, and you're in a really good place. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, you'll see you next time when we do another interview with one of our Gateway Church members. Take care.
Bye.